Marjorie has been face-blind since childhood, with only her childhood sweetheart Noah standing by her side unwaveringly. From school uniforms to wedding gowns, he never once looked down on her. Strangely enough, Noah looked different every night, until she overheard his conversation with a friend. "Mr. Noah, you're really playing the field." Marjorie watched as Noah casually put his arm around a young girl and said, "Anyway, she can't tell who's who." The Owens residence was buzzing with excitement inside the villa. Marjorie stood at the backyard gate, feeling a chill run down her spine. In a daze, she watched as the crowd in the yard began playing a game of passing a tissue. Noah grinned mischievously, deliberately dropping the tissue and planting a kiss on his female companion, lips and teeth entwined, inseparable. Surrounded by a chorus of teasing voices, for Marjorie, this scene struck like a bolt from the blue. She took a deep breath and abruptly pushed the door open. Instantly, silence fell over the room. Seeing Marjorie return after leaving, Noah showed not a trace of panic. Sister-in-law came back to look for Noah. As he spoke, he kissed the woman in his arms again, perfunctorily saying, "Noah just went out. Sister-in-law, you should look for him outside." Clearly, he was long accustomed to easily deceiving Marjorie. Marjorie stood in place, like a clown in a farce, for the first time. She noticed how clearly the surrounding onlookers' mocking gazes were. For a moment, her throat seemed to be blocked, and she couldn't utter a word. Noah looked disappointed, but his eyes suddenly lit up as if he had seen a savior. "Noah, you're finally back. Take your sister-in-law to rest, quick." Following Noah's gaze, Marjorie saw a man with a stern face walking toward her. At a glance, she recognized that the jade thumb ring on the man's finger belonged to the all-powerful Edwards family. Hello, everyone, welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful novels every day. Now the story begins. The young master of the Edwards family is actually here too. Marjorie was just thinking that Orville's aura felt strangely familiar. In a daze, she found herself being pulled by the shoulder and led into the house. Marjorie instinctively looked at Noah, only to see an expression of utter indifference on his face. Stung by his expression, her nose tingled with unshed tears. Forgetting to break free, she numbly followed Orville away. It wasn't until they returned to the room that Marjorie snapped back to reality, only to find the man's handsome face slowly approaching, his familiar scent enveloping her. She quickly turned her head aside, avoiding the kiss. The man was taken aback. "Go to bed early." Then he left the room. All night, Noah did not return to the room. Marjorie was in complete turmoil. As a child, she could never make friends due to her face blindness and was often bullied. It was Noah who always rushed out to protect her. To Marjorie, he was like a heroic figure descending on a rainbow cloud. So when she grew up, despite her parents' objections, she resolutely married Noah. But now, everything is lost. Marjorie knew she should leave promptly. But before that, she wanted to know just how long she had been deceived. She stayed awake until dawn. Marjorie had just come downstairs when she saw Noah, his face brimming with satisfaction. His shirt was slightly wrinkled, and his neck bore scattered love bites, clear evidence of last night's wild escapades. When he saw her, Noah smiled softly and said, "Marjorie, did you sleep well last night?" Marjorie stared at his face, feeling nothing but utter unfamiliarity. She suppressed her surging emotions and nodded as if nothing was wrong. Marjorie was about to say something when she saw the woman from last night emerge from the guest room and intimately wrapped her arms around Noah's waist. "Orville, let's continue." In an instant, Noah's eyes flickered with a trace of embarrassment before quickly returning to normal. He quickly pulled the woman's arms away and said in a low voice, "You've mistaken me for someone else." As he spoke, he looked at Marjorie and smiled, saying, "It seems my silhouette is too similar to Orville's. She always mistakes me for him." Even now, Noah was still putting on an act. Marjorie smiled bitterly, her heart filled with disappointment. Her palm ached from clenching as she gazed into his eyes and spoke slowly, "Noah, your skills last night were better than usual." Hearing this, Noah's expression stiffened momentarily. Marjorie pretended not to notice and dropped the line, "I'm going to school," turned away in haste, leaving behind the scorching gaze, and walked out the door. Marjorie is now pursuing her Ph.D. Previously, to stay by Noah's side, she turned down an overseas program. After learning those unbearable truths, Marjorie's first act upon returning to school was to approach her advisor, seeking to reapply for the joint training program. The advisor looked at her with regret. "You declined the program before for family reasons. Now it's full, and it might be very difficult to get back in." Marjorie was disappointed but had no choice. After all, she had cut off her own retreat, but the Owens family was wealthy and powerful, and if she wanted to leave, she couldn't think of any other way. After thanking her mentor, Marjorie was preoccupied all day. Unexpectedly, when she returned to the Owens house that day, it was eerily quiet. On ordinary days, Noah would invite many people over for parties at home, completely disregarding that Marjorie, who had been conducting experiments all day, needed rest. After washing up, she thought she could finally get a good night's sleep today. Just as she lay down and was drifting off, she was abruptly awakened by the man's rough kiss. Marjorie suddenly opened her eyes, and when she saw Noah's face, she subconsciously let out a slight sigh of relief. He reeked of alcohol, his movements unusually urgent and violent, as if he couldn't wait to devour her on the spot. Marjorie keenly sensed that Noah's body felt somewhat unfamiliar to her. It seemed he hadn't touched her in a long time, yet apart from last night, they had been intimate almost every night. At this thought, Marjorie suddenly reached out and pushed Noah off her. Noticing a flicker of surprise in his eyes, she hastily offered an excuse. "I'm too tired today." Noah let out a mocking laugh, his tone turning dark. "Though I've been neglecting you lately, you don't need to resort to this to get my attention." With those words, he turned and left without hesitation. Before long, Marjorie heard the fading sound of an engine downstairs. Noah left with his body burning with desire at this hour. Where he was going needed no explanation. Marjorie gave a bitter smile, her eyes empty as she stared at the ceiling. She drifted into a fitful sleep, haunted by nightmares all night. In her dream, she couldn't quite make out Noah's face clearly. The next day, Marjorie heard the familiar commotion inside the house as soon as she returned home from work. Through the glass window, she saw under the flickering indoor lights, Noah reclining on the sofa, intimately whispering with a sexy and fiery woman as if no one else was around. Just as they seemed about to cross the line, Marjorie swung the door open violently. "What are you all doing?" As she entered, the room fell silent for a moment. Noah, the girl beside him, stood up and said to Marjorie, "We're playing a game, sister-in-law. Would you like to join us? Dare to take a bet. Try to find out which one is Noah. Whether you choose correctly or not, you'll have to share a 3-minute deep kiss in public with the person you pick." The atmosphere boiled over once again amidst the crowd's teasing. Marjorie instinctively looked at Noah, only to see a spark of interest in his eyes. He didn't seem worried at all that his face-blind wife might choose the wrong person. She unconsciously clenched her palm and forced a smile, saying, "All right." As soon as the words fell, Noah secretly removed his wedding ring, a gesture that deeply stung Marjorie's eyes. She watched helplessly as he handed over the wedding ring, which ultimately landed in the hands of the Edwards family's young master, and could only lower her eyes with a bitter smile. Soon, Marjorie began the game under the gaze of everyone. As she walked to Noah's side, her steps paused slightly, and she stared directly at him. Noah flashed a hint of surprise in his eyes, parted his lips slightly, as if about to say something. Marjorie suddenly withdrew her gaze, turned around decisively, and pointed at Orville. "I choose him." Noah only paused slightly before leading the applause, his tone teasing. "Sis-in-law is amazing." Spotting Noah at a glance, at his instigation, the crowd jeered, "Kiss her, kiss her." Then someone pushed Marjorie toward Orville, seeing Noah's indifferent smile. A chill instantly seeped through her entire body. Marjorie's fingers trembled slightly, but she still feigned composure and reached for Orville's shoulder. Just as she was about to kiss him, Noah suddenly interrupted with a voice, "Noah." Marjorie paused her movement, the curve of her lips as she withdrew carrying a hint of mockery. She knew all too well that this was merely Noah's possessiveness at play. He cleared his throat lightly before continuing. "Didn't you mention a while ago that you were planning to take your wife back to the old house tomorrow? Maybe we should call it a day for now." Since the master had spoken, no one dared to object, and the gathering dispersed as he suggested. Marjorie went upstairs by herself, washed up, and went to bed. Early the next morning, Noah dragged her out of bed. "Come on, Mom is still waiting." Thinking of Noah's dad, Noah's mom, Marjorie's heart sank, and she forcefully shook off Noah's hand. "I'm not going." They looked down on her for being face-blind and unable to recognize the Owens family's business partners, and she had no power or influence to offer Noah any career support. Even during the wedding, they specifically set many rules for Marjorie. Just as this thought crossed her mind, she heard Noah soften his tone. "Is it because of my mother's rules? I told you. Just treat it as acting. I'll make it up to you later." Marjorie knew arguing was futile. Even if she resisted, Noah would still forcibly take her there. Since she had to endure this ordeal anyway, it was better to go early and return early. "Fine, I'll go." As soon as she entered the gate of the old house, Noah's mom struck her with a ruler. Article 11 of the Owens Family Code. The daughter-in-law must arrive at the old residence 1 hour early to prepare vegetables and cook. You're late, you deserve punishment. Marjorie only felt a burning pain in her hand. She knew that resistance would only bring harsher punishment, so she could only endure silently. But just as she was about to enter a smack, came another strike of the ruler. Forgot again, you should kneel to change your husband's shoes. Daughter-in-law should keep her head down and avoid direct eye contact with elders. She must be punished. In just 1 short hour, Marjorie's hands had become severely swollen and red, just as she thought it was all over and she could finally eat normally. Noah's mom stopped her. You're not worthy of sitting at the table to eat. Marjorie saw the leftovers on the stove. Unsure how long they had been sitting there, their colors already slightly altered. Consider yourself lucky, Noah's mom said with a tone full of condescension, and throughout, Noah didn't utter a single word in her defense. Marjorie paused for a moment, then couldn't help but flip the plate over. Such delicacies are better suited for Miss Marjorie to enjoy. I'm not worthy of them. Without turning his head, he walked straight towards the door. Marjorie heard Noah's mom shout sharply behind her, once you step out of this door, don't even think about being the Owens family's daughter-in-law anymore. She raised her voice in reply, then I wish Mr. Noah a happy marriage. Noah quickly caught up. Marjorie, don't be angry, we were just acting. Marjorie paused mid-step, raising her swollen red hands. Acting? Noah stared blankly for a moment before suddenly embracing her. All right, I'll make it up to you. Didn't you say you wanted to visit the hot springs? How about we go right now? Along the way, Noah's phone kept ringing incessantly, though he quickly silenced it. Marjorie still caught a glimpse of that sexy bunny girl photo. Seeing Noah look over, she forced a smile. Noah, what's wrong? He let out a long breath and asked, Marjorie, I have 2 more friends who'd like to join the hot spring. Can they come along? Marjorie lowered her eyes to conceal her emotions. Sure, more people means more fun. With that, she took out the pre-prepared divorce agreement from her bag and handed it to Noah, saying, Noah, please sign here. Noah was happily replying to a message on his phone and signed without even looking. It wasn't until Marjorie put the document away that he realized, Marjorie, what did you just have me sign? Just a property purchase contract. Hearing this, Noah stopped pressing further. Upon arriving at the hot spring resort, he handed Marjorie over to the staff and then disappeared without a trace. Marjorie changed her clothes and was led to the hot spring, only to see another man there. The staff called out to him, Noah. Marjorie stood rooted to the spot, hesitating to move. The man in the hot spring was unmistakably Orville. For a moment, she stood by the hot spring, unsure whether to step in or not. The man seemed to notice Marjorie's hesitation and said calmly, You don't need to be wary of me. I won't do anything to you. Only then did she nod and take a step forward. Little did they expect to misstep and fall straight into the hot spring. After a dizzying whirl, Marjorie came to her senses only to find herself straddling Orville. Blushing and about to get up, she suddenly heard Noah's furious voice. What are you doing, Marjorie? You're utterly shameless. Marjorie turned her head and saw Noah standing not far away, his eyes cold and somber. His new, coquettish darling Marion sneered from his embrace. What a delightful pastime for Mr. Noah and his wife. Couldn't even wait for nightfall. At these words, Noah's expression darkened further. He strode forward, reaching out to grab Marjorie. She only tightened Orville's neck in her embrace. So what? It's perfectly reasonable for me to be affectionate with my husband. Aren't you two overstepping your boundaries? Instantly, Noah's hand froze mid-air, as if suddenly remembering his current status. Marjorie sneered. What, still not leaving? Do you want to watch us get intimate? Noah's face turned extremely grim, yet he couldn't refute it and had no choice but to leave under Marion's gentle persuasion. As soon as their figures disappeared, Marjorie immediately pushed Orville ashore and apologized. Sorry for using you. Without waiting to see his reaction, she fled in a panic. After leaving the hot spring, Marjorie went straight to the law firm. With the name of the Owens family, the lawyer said the divorce certificate could be processed within 7 days. Marjorie smiled self-deprecatingly. After so many years of marriage, the first time she leveraged the Owens family's influence was during her divorce. Leaving the law firm, Marjorie returned to the villa. Back then, to marry Noah, she had to prove to Noah's dad, Noah's mom, that she wasn't after the Owens family's wealth. Marjorie even signed a prenuptial agreement, ensuring she wouldn't take a single penny from the Owens family after divorce. While packing, she realized everything in the Owens family that belonged to her could fit into a single backpack. A yellow diary made Marjorie pause. As she opened it, sweet memories from the past came flooding back. This was written by her with hopeful anticipation when she was dating Noah, listing 100 things she wanted to do with him. By the time they got married, she had already checked off 53 items. Marjorie looked at the blank 54th item. Attending a concert together. She had begged Noah many times, but he always had countless reasons to refuse. Those places are cramped, packed with people. And your ears are practically assaulted by the screams of those women. I don't see what's so great about them. With this thought, Marjorie picked up her phone and booked tickets for the concert the next day. Now she no longer wanted to wait for Noah to agree. If he wasn't willing, she could go by herself. Marjorie suddenly felt an unprecedented sense of relief. Just then, Noah pushed the door open, his face darkening, having so much fun at the hot springs just now. Before she could react, he grabbed her wrist and demanded, "Speak, what's with the red mark on your neck?" Marjorie felt utterly bewildered and struggled with all her might. Her silent resistance only fueled Noah's anger, and he began tearing at her clothes. "What about your body? Are there any other marks?" This near-rape act left Marjorie feeling utterly humiliated. She raised her hand and slapped Noah across the face. Slap. For a moment, both of them were stunned. Marjorie was the first to regain composure. Straightening her clothes, she sneered, "Noah, what madness has possessed you? Weren't you fully aware of what I was doing in the hot spring just now?" Noah's eyes suddenly cleared, pausing briefly before issuing another warning. "Marjorie, remember this. You're a married woman. Stop flirting around and being promiscuous." With that, he slammed the door and left. Marjorie stood in place, her lips curling into a sarcastic smile. So he did remember they were married. Noah spent another night away from home, but for her now, it actually felt more liberating. In less than a week, she would leave this place for good. Noah would then have no connection with her whatsoever. Marjorie had a good night's sleep, and the next day, she took extra care to put on exquisite makeup before heading to the concert. The venue was bustling with excitement. Marjorie realized for the first time that she too could live life with such fervor. Soon it was time for the interactive segment, with 2 cameras randomly capturing audience shots. When they stopped, Marjorie found herself appearing on one of the large screens. Coincidentally, the other screen displayed the faces of Noah and Marion. The host exclaimed in amazement, "Wow, this is the first time I've seen such good-looking audience members. Are you guys a couple?" Then Noah shook his head and said, "We're not a couple." Amidst the sighs, he continued, "We are husband and wife." The host repeatedly praised how well-matched they were, then turned to ask Marjorie, this audience member who came alone, "Do you have anything to say?" She looked at them and smiled faintly, wishing them a harmonious union for 100 years. Noah's expression stiffened for a moment before quickly returning to normal. He raised their tightly clasped hands toward her, the woman's oversized diamond ring stinging Marjorie's eyes. Back then, the Owens family parents objected and froze all of Noah's bank cards. As a result, their wedding was quite simple, and they could only afford plain silver bands for their wedding rings. At the time, Noah had promised, "Marjorie, don't worry. Once I inherit the company, I'll make it up to you with the grandest wedding and the biggest diamond ring." Actually, Marjorie didn't care about any of that. It was the guilt in his eyes at that moment that made her heart flutter. Little did she expect those promises would now be fulfilled for someone else. She took off the ring and tossed it into the gap between the seats, leaving in a hurry before the concert even ended. Just sharing the same air with them made her feel unbearably sick. Rather than getting entangled with Noah, she'd rather go back and spend time with her parents. Before heading back, she made a special trip to pick out a gift. She just didn't expect to run into Noah while shopping at the mall. Marion wore a sickly sweet smile. "Miss Marjorie, what a coincidence. Why are you here alone? Didn't Mr. Noah accompany you?" As she spoke, she deliberately pressed closer to Noah. "Let me introduce you. This is my husband." As their eyes met, Noah merely gave a cold nod. As if Marjorie were truly a stranger he was meeting for the first time, her chest tightened, and she averted her gaze, mumbling a few perfunctory words before attempting to settle the bill. Eager to leave this place as quickly as possible, but Marion seemed determined to thwart her wishes, coquettishly saying, "Miss Marjorie's massager looks quite impressive. I'd like to buy one too. My husband has been too vigorous lately, leaving me sore and exhausted every day. I should have bought a massager long ago to relax." Hearing this, the shop assistant looked troubled. "This is the last one in the store." And it was Miss Marjorie who spotted it first. "My apologies." Seeing Marion's displeasure, Noah spoke up, "We'll pay 10 times the price." Marjorie found it utterly ridiculous. Knowing the man before her would stubbornly persist unless she relented, she placed the item in the assistant's hands. I don't want it anymore. Then she turned around, intending to pick something else, but no matter what she chose, Marian and Noah would outbid her for it. Marjorie felt stifled and could no longer hold back, saying coldly, "What exactly are you trying to do? Your behavior is disrupting my normal shopping." Before she could finish, Noah impatiently interrupted, "The highest bidder wins, it's fair. If you can't afford it, get out now." Marjorie was stunned for a moment, then looked into his eyes and sneered, "You treat your wife so well." With those words, she ignored Noah's flicker of unreadable emotion in his eyes, turned around, and left the mall without looking back. Interrupted like this, Marjorie had completely lost her mood for shopping. Just as she was about to head straight back to her parents' home, she received a call from Noah. She answered calmly, hearing him say, "The butler called to say your parents went to the old mansion. Where are you? I'll pick you up." Marjorie's heart skipped a beat. Her parents went to the Owen residence. The Owens family has always looked down on the Marjorie's family. And who knows what kind of humiliation Marjorie's dad and mom would face if they stayed there. At this thought, even though she knew Noah was acting, she didn't bother to expose him and quickly responded with the address. Soon, Noah's frequently driven Maybach pulled up right in front of Marjorie. "Marjorie, have you been waiting long?" "Get in quickly." His gentle smile gave no hint that he was the same person who had just told her to get out moments ago. Marjorie suppressed her surging emotions and calmly got into the car with a composed expression. On the way to the old house, even before entering, she heard Noah's mom say disdainfully, "Don't bring just anything into my house, I find it dirty." The next moment, Marjorie's mom's local specialties were Noah's mom thrown out like trash. Marjorie watched her parents, who had always been honest and law-abiding their entire lives, now standing like children who had done something wrong, their faces full of restraint as they were scolded in the Owens family's home. Her nose suddenly stung, and she nearly burst into tears. She strode forward, took Marjorie's dad and Marjorie's mom's hands, and said, "Mom, Dad, let's go." Noah's mom snorted coldly at the sight. "Marjorie, last time you were so stubborn, unwilling to become my Owens family's daughter-in-law. Why are you bringing your parents here now, if you have the guts? Stick to your word and stop pestering my son, then I might think more highly of you." Marjorie clearly felt her parents' bodies stiffen. Without turning back, she resolutely led them out. Suddenly, from behind came Noah's somewhat panicked voice, "Marjorie." She paused mid-step, released their hands, and turned back. Noah's mom sneered, "What, can't bear to leave the Owens family after all? Can't bear to leave my son, can you?" Marjorie ignored Noah's barely concealed smugness and anticipation, picked up the local specialty from the ground, and continued walking out. Never again, never again, Marjorie thought as she watched her father's faltering figure. She would never be Noah's dupe again, nor would she let her parents suffer humiliation. She and Noah were over. After leaving the Owens house, Marjorie did not return to the villa but instead took her parents to a hotel. After checking in, it was just mealtime, and since it was already late, she simply took her parents to the hotel's restaurant for dinner. Unexpectedly, she spotted Marian from afar. Marjorie hesitated, troubled about how to avoid her, but luckily Marjorie's mom suddenly said she needed to use the restroom. Marjorie's dad said, "At the Owens house, your mom didn't even dare to go upstairs, afraid she might embarrass you." These words made Marjorie's heart ache with a bittersweet feeling. After escorting her parents to the restroom, she hurried to the dining room, planning to quickly pack some food and return to her room to eat. However, on her way back, she ran into Marian again, and standing beside her was Noah. He seemed surprised to encounter Marjorie at the hotel, his gaze momentarily freezing before he spoke. "Isn't this Miss Marjorie? What brings you to the hotel?" Seeing Noah still putting on an act, and recalling what had happened at the Owens house, Marjorie suddenly felt a wave of exhaustion wash over her, weary of dealing with the situation. She tried to brush it off and leave quickly, but was mockingly stopped by Marian. "Miss Marjorie, you didn't come to the hotel to secretly meet a lover, did you?" Before Marjorie could respond, she heard Marjorie's mom's puzzled voice from behind. "Marjorie, my son-in-law." She froze, then turned around and saw Orville approaching from a distance, quickly pointing at him. She said to Marjorie's dad and Marjorie's mom with a smile, "Mom, Dad, what are you talking about? This is Noah." Noah frowned deeply between his brows. Marjorie paid no attention and called out to Orville again, "Noah, I'll take Mom and Dad upstairs first." After speaking, she quickly pulled Marjorie's dad and Marjorie's mom back to their room. After the door closed, she looked at her parents' hesitant expressions, sighed, and still told them that her face blindness had been cured. Seeing them at such an old age still worrying about her, Marjorie felt nothing but guilt. She forced a smile and reassured them. "Don't worry, your daughter knows what she's doing, I'll handle it myself." After finally calming down Marjorie's dad and Marjorie's mom, Marjorie returned to her room, just finished washing up when the sound of knocking came from the door. Upon opening the door, I saw Noah with a displeased expression. He asked in a deep voice, "Marjorie, why didn't you bring my parents home to stay?" Marjorie looked at him calmly, forcing a cold smile as she retorted, "For what reason? Don't you already know in your heart?" Noah was taken aback, his frown deepening as he hurriedly explained, "My mom, she," no longer wanting to listen to his sweet talk, Marjorie interrupted, "You should leave. I need to stay with my parents." Noah relented. "Then remember to come home after you've spent time with your parents." She reached out and closed the door without responding. That home, she would never return to it again. Marjorie spent a few days accompanying her parents before seeing them off on their flight home. After spending a night alone at the hotel, she received a notification that she could go collect her divorce certificate. Unexpectedly, as soon as she stepped out of the hotel, she ran into the person she least wanted to see right at the entrance. Marion seemed to have been waiting for her there on purpose. As soon as they met, she touched her slightly swollen abdomen and sighed. "I heard that Miss Marjorie hasn't been able to conceive for years after marriage. I hope I can pass my good fortune to you." Marjorie was stunned. The identity of the child's father was self-evident. Seeing her silence, Marion continued, "Miss Marjorie, why aren't you saying anything? Won't you congratulate me?" Marjorie suppressed her discomfort and replied perfunctorily, "Congratulations to you both." With that, she hurriedly tried to leave, but Marion relentlessly blocked her way, feigning a smile as she said, "Why don't Miss Marjorie help us name our baby?" Hearing this, Marjorie flashed a look of disbelief in her eyes, but quickly suppressed her emotions. After glancing at Noah beside her, she sneered, "How about we just call it Nikki?" As the words fell, Noah's expression turned slightly surprised. He parted his lips as if wanting to say something. Marjorie smiled faintly, like the endless flow of a mighty river. What a wonderful meaning. Just then, a Bugatti pulled up in front of the group. The car window rolled down, revealing Orville's chiseled face. "Marjorie, get in." Marjorie didn't hesitate, nor did she look back at the expressions of the two behind her, boarding Orville's car without a second glance. The luxurious car interior was somewhat silent. Just as she was thinking of something to say to break the awkwardness, Orville spoke first. "Actually, your face blindness is cured, isn't it?" Marjorie was taken aback, slowly turning to look at him. She hadn't expected that something even her own husband failed to notice would be spotted first by Orville. She quickly regained her composure, softly uttering an then, as if that wasn't enough, added, "Thank you for helping me out multiple times." Orville let out a light chuckle and said nothing more. After asking for the address, he quietly assumed the role of Marjorie's driver. Finally holding the marriage certificate, Marjorie felt as if a massive weight had been lifted from her heart. She let out a long sigh of relief, her expression one of indescribable ease and joy, only to notice Orville beside her. Looking somewhat strange, Marjorie couldn't help but ask, "What's wrong?" Orville finally averted his gaze, cleared his throat lightly, and his tone became more relaxed. "It's the first time I've seen you look so happy." These words made Marjorie pause again, revealing that this marriage had brought her far more pain than happiness. She smiled with relief. No matter when, it's never too late to start anew. As soon as the words fell, Marjorie's phone rang. She answered the call and heard her advisor's cheerful voice on the other end. "Marjorie, you're in luck. A researcher position just opened up in the overseas project. And I've submitted your materials." Marjorie exclaimed in delight. "Really? When do I start?" "The sooner, the better." "Then I'll set off today." After all, she didn't have much luggage to pack. Beside them, Orville heard this but didn't ask further. He simply quietly accompanied Marjorie back to the hotel to collect her luggage, then saw her off at the airport. Before boarding the plane, Marjorie solemnly thanked him. "I will remember your kindness and repay you in the future." Orville nodded with a smile. "I'll hold you to that." Then he watched as her figure walked away with ease. Upon learning that Marjorie hadn't returned to the villa for half a month and her phone was unreachable, Noah finally grew anxious. He searched every possible place she might have gone, but didn't catch Marjorie's slightest trace. 2 years later, Noah, as the Owens family group's president, attended a top technology summit forum. He sat disinterestedly in the invited seat. Hearing people nearby discussing, "I heard there's a returned expert who came back with a scientific research patent. Most people here today are here for the patent in her hands." Noah couldn't help but prick up his ears. He was here for that patent too. At that moment, the venue suddenly erupted in noise. Dr. Marjorie is here. He followed the sound and looked toward the entrance of the venue, suddenly freezing in shock. The Dr. Marjorie walking in surrounded by the crowd was unmistakably his wife who had disappeared 2 years ago. Noah sat in the audience and listened to Marjorie's speech, feeling only that the person before him was now a complete stranger. She was now so radiant, so extraordinary. Marjorie was immediately surrounded by a crowd. After stepping down, Noah made some effort to push through the crowd, walked up to her, and angrily demanded, "Marjorie, what's wrong with you? You finally dare to come back? Where on earth have you been all these years?" The crowd suddenly fell silent. Marjorie paused for a moment, then calmly uttered just 2 words, "And you are." Noah felt a jolt in his heart and instinctively shouted, "Your husband." Marjorie responded with a composed smile, speaking unhurriedly, "Sorry, I have face blindness." As she spoke, Marjorie politely smiled at everyone and turned to leave. Noah was stunned and quickly chased after her. "Marjorie, what on earth are you up to? You don't even recognize me anymore." Marjorie didn't look back and called for her bodyguards, who escorted her out of the venue. As soon as she stepped outside, she was greeted by the beaming faces of Marjorie's dad and Marjorie's mom. Marjorie happily hugged them both and then took them to the hotel she had already booked. Having not returned home for a long time, Marjorie planned to take her parents out for a good time. The next day, she took her parents out, but unexpectedly ran into Marion. Marjorie cursed silently in her heart, thinking how this woman just wouldn't leave her alone. She then tried to pull her parents away to leave, but Marion didn't let her have her way. Pointing at Marjorie's nose, she angrily shouted, "Marjorie, you shameless woman, you made Mr. Noah beat my child. Are you back now to harm me again?" Hearing this, Marjorie was momentarily stunned. She had originally thought Marion's child would be safely born, never expecting that Noah would actually have her child aborted. But now, what did any of this have to do with her? She scoffed, "None of my business." Having witnessed everything, Marjorie's dad, Marjorie's mom wore expressions of fury. Still remembering this woman who had been the other woman in their daughter's marriage, Marjorie's mom suddenly stepped forward, angrily scolding Marion, "Who are you calling shameless? The shameless one should be you, you home-wrecking mistress." Marion glared furiously, "What did you just say, you old hag?" As she spoke, she even went so far as to give a push to Marjorie's mom. The next second, Marjorie's mom fell backward down the stairs, caught off guard, hitting her head and bleeding profusely, instantly losing consciousness. Marjorie didn't have time to settle scores with Marion and quickly called an ambulance to take Marjorie's mom to the hospital. Not long after, Noah appeared at the hospital. It seemed he had heard something from Marion on the way and, without distinguishing right from wrong, blamed everything on Marjorie and the Marjorie's family. Right from the start, Noah accused Marjorie. Marjorie had no time for his antics, focused solely on treating Marjorie's mom, but never expected that this hospital was actually the Owens family's private hospital. Noah refused, leaving no doctor to perform surgery on Marjorie's mom. Marjorie suppressed her emotions with reddened eyes. "Noah, my mom treated you so well." "Fine, if you want me to save her," Noah interrupted impatiently. "Kneel down and kowtow to Marion to apologize. If she forgives you, I'll agree to let your mother have the surgery." Marjorie stared straight at Noah, her heart filled with bitterness. She slowly knelt down, her forehead hitting the floor heavily. "Please, save my mother." Time and time again. Only after being battered and bruised did Noah finally intervene. "Enough, let it go this time. If there's a next time, I'll show you the Owens family's methods." Marjorie didn't have time to tend to her wounds and immediately went to find a doctor to prepare for surgery. Who would have thought that after the doctor's attempts to save her, they all shook their heads. It's too late. The head suffered severe trauma, breathing is faint, and vital signs are nearly non-existent. Better prepare for the funeral. Marjorie's dad seemed to have all his energy drained in an instant, his back visibly hunched. Silently, he lifted Marjorie's mom and carried her step by step out of the hospital. "Let's go, we're taking your mother home." Marjorie followed quietly behind, but her mind involuntarily recalled a slender hand. "Dad, we still have hope. I can save your mother, but you must agree to 3 conditions of mine." The man's cool voice came from the other end of the phone. Marjorie instantly tensed up. "I'll agree to anything as long as I can do it." The man chuckled lightly. "Miss Marjorie, rest assured, I won't take advantage of your situation." Marjorie stood frozen in place, emotions engulfing her from all sides. Just as she was about to be overwhelmed, she heard the sound of a helicopter. It was her mother's lifeline. Marjorie suppressed all her emotions and walked step by step toward the helicopter. The sound of a helicopter streaked across the sky. Noah looked up, feeling restless inside. After much deliberation, he finally took out his phone. "How's my mother-in-law doing?" "I'm very sorry, Mr. Noah. Your mother-in-law missed the optimal rescue window. There's nothing more we can do." Noah's hands trembled slightly as he asked again in disbelief. That staircase wasn't even that high. How could a simple fall be fatal? Are you all incompetent doctors? He couldn't bear to imagine Marjorie's mom passing away. Marjorie would definitely leave him. The main impact from the fall was concentrated on the same spot, and the bruising compressed the nerves. It wouldn't have been a problem if treated promptly. "But you wouldn't let us administer first aid." The voice on the other end grew quieter and quieter, until it was almost inaudible. "So you're blaming me for this?" Noah slammed the phone onto the ground with force. The screen went black, instantly silencing all sound. Marion gently patted Noah on the back and said softly, "Did I make Miss Marjorie angry by asking her to apologize? Is that why she's deliberately playing this kind of joke on you?" Noah froze for a moment. "Are you saying she bribed those quacks to put on an act?" Marion smiled gently. "Miss Marjorie is really something. This is a matter of life and death. I suppose she just wants you to worry about her and feel sorry for her. I've fallen down the stairs before too, and I'm perfectly fine now, aren't I?" Noah snorted coldly. "I'd like to see what tricks she's up to." The helicopter took Marjorie to the largest hospital in the capital. The operating room had long been prepared. With all doctors standing by, Marjorie's mom was rushed into the emergency room as soon as she landed. After a night of emergency treatment, joyful news finally arrived at the break of dawn. Vital signs are stable, but there's a blood clot in the brain. The time of awakening is uncertain. The attending physician wiped the sweat from his forehead, looking somewhat exhausted. "For brain treatment, the equipment abroad is slightly more advanced. My suggestion is to go overseas directly for recuperation." Marjorie hesitated. She hadn't taken a single penny from the Owens family when she left, and now she only had a few $1,000s in her pocket. The doctor seemed to notice Marjorie's embarrassment and said with a smile, "Don't worry. Orville said he would arrange everything as long as you agree." Before the sun had risen, Marjorie was already aboard a private jet heading abroad. When she landed, the sky was still dark here. By the time everything was arranged, the faint light of dawn was just beginning to appear. After a busy night, Marjorie was utterly famished. Just as she stepped out to buy breakfast, she saw someone she never expected to meet. The man was still dressed in a black shirt, wearing a symbolic jade thumb ring on his finger, leaning casually against the car door, his gaze fixed on the movements inside the hospital. Seeing Marjorie come out, the man slowly approached and extended his right hand. "Miss Marjorie, let me reintroduce myself. I am Orville." When the two sat in the convenience store, Marjorie was still somewhat dazed. Passers-by cast curious glances their way, making her feel uneasy, mainly because Orville has such a striking presence that he stands out awkwardly in a crowd. "Sorry, I haven't sorted out my affairs yet, so I can only treat you to this for now." Marjorie handed him the rice ball she was holding. Her face slightly flushed with embarrassment. Orville took it with a calm expression, his practiced movements leaving Marjorie quite astonished. "No need to be so surprised. When I was studying here, my family cut off all financial support to toughen me up. I've tasted everything there is to eat." "Well, Mr. Orville is quite impressive indeed." Marjorie laughed awkwardly. Every time she was around Orville, she felt utterly uncomfortable, especially under those piercing eyes that seemed to see through all her disguises. "Call me Orville. That's my first request." Marjorie froze, not understanding what Orville meant. Seeing he had no intention to explain, she could only murmur in agreement. After leaving the convenience store, Orville didn't leave but followed Marjorie to the hospital. After treatment, Marjorie's mom has stabilized, though it will still take time for her to wake up. Marjorie's dad kept vigil by her side without even changing his clothes, aging several years in appearance over the course of a single night. When he saw Orville enter the room, he immediately recognized him as their benefactor and rose to kneel. "Orville, thank you for helping us. I would repay your kindness even if it means serving as your ox or horse. There's no need to kneel to me, sir. This is merely a transaction between your daughter and me, an equivalent exchange." Hearing this, Marjorie's dad looked at Marjorie with a stunned expression. Marjorie helped her father up. "Dad, Orville, don't worry about matters here. The most important thing is taking care of Mom. In a few days, I'll be joining the project and might not have much free time on the plane." Marjorie had already revealed everything. Marjorie's dad stared blankly for a long time before patting her hand and saying, "It's my fault for not being capable enough, making you and your mom suffer." Gazing at Marjorie's dad even more hunched figure, Marjorie felt her eyes sting with tears. She couldn't understand why she had pushed her parents away for Noah. "Marjorie, don't worry, your dad is here for you." Marjorie truly felt that Orville was very considerate. They had come in a hurry without any preparations, but he seemed to have thought of everything. They prepared a house for them, bought daily necessities, and took care of every detail. Orville is so considerate. No wonder the Edwards family is the foremost family in the capital, Marjorie casually remarked, but didn't expect the man beside her to suddenly stop, his eyes darkening as he stared at her. "Miss Marjorie, if you cannot fulfill my requirements, I can unilaterally annul our agreement." Marjorie finally realized Orville was serious. She lowered her head and softly uttered a few words. "I understand, Orville." The surrounding atmosphere instantly eased. Orville curved his lips slightly. "Do you have any other plans later?" The topic shifted too quickly. Marjorie was momentarily caught off guard. After a brief daze, she replied, "I need to pick up my teacher. We agreed to meet at the airport. I'll walk you out." Being unfamiliar with the place, Marjorie didn't refuse. She already owed Orville so much that a little more wouldn't hurt. Marjorie's teacher, surnamed Chin, was her university advisor. Back when she majored in English and French, her teacher had wanted her to stay and teach after graduation. But she chose to marry Noah instead, turning down the offer. After marriage, Noah would regularly provide living expenses, and her mother-in-law disliked her appearing in public, so she could only take on occasional translation jobs at home. Upon seeing Marjorie, the teacher patted her shoulder with a relieved expression. "I never really approved of your marriage to Noah in the first place. It's for the best that you're divorced now." But I'm surprised he actually agreed. Noah would never agree, of course. Marjorie had handed the divorce papers to a nurse to deliver when she left. By now, Noah should have received them. Meanwhile, Noah hadn't returned home for 2 days and hadn't even asked about Marjorie's mom. He assumed Marjorie would back down. Little did he know, Marjorie hadn't even sent him a single message. He couldn't sit still any longer. Despite Marian's repeated attempts to stop him, he couldn't resist sending a few comforting messages to Marjorie. But there was no reply for a long time. At this point, he finally sensed something was wrong and rushed home, only to find it completely empty. When he called, the number was no longer in service. In a panic, he returned to the hospital to inquire about Marjorie's mom, but instead received a file folder from a nurse. "This is from Miss Marjorie. She asked me to give it to you." Noah opened it to find a bright red divorce certificate lying inside. How could this be? Noah raised his hand and threw the divorce certificate to the ground. "Marjorie would never divorce me. She obviously loves me the most. Was it because I protected Marian that she got angry and decided to deceive me like this? How could she just abandon the friendship we've had since childhood? It must be fake." The terrifying appearance of Yazi frightened the patients, and the nurse tried to calm him down but was pushed away. "How much did she pay you to put on this act with her?" "Marjorie, where is she? Bring her out now, or I'll smash this hospital." Unable to restrain the frenzied Noah, they had no choice but to administer a sedative, causing him to fall into a deep sleep. Outside the ward, the nurses couldn't help but gossip. Belated affection is cheaper than grass. He ignored his mother-in-law's crisis to stay with his mistress, and now he dares to ask his wife why she wants a divorce. Exactly. Does he really think he's some domineering CEO who can win his wife back just by saying so? "Enough, mister. Noah's affairs are none of your business," the head nurse scolded sharply. The nurses pouted at each other and walked away. In the evening, Noah slowly woke up and was overjoyed to see a figure slumped by the bed. He reached out to take her hand. "Marjorie, I knew you wouldn't abandon me." His words abruptly stopped. Noah suddenly saw clearly that the person before him was Marian. Seeing him awake, Marian was filled with joy. "Noah, you're awake. You scared me so much." Noah fell silent for a moment, then immediately got out of bed and headed for the door. But was Marian stopped? "Noah, where are you going?" "I'm going to find Marjorie." Noah's heart was pounding wildly. Marjorie doesn't want him anymore. This thought grew increasingly intense, making it impossible for him to sit still. "She's really gone," Marian said anxiously, handing the tightly held documents to Noah. The surgery wasn't successful, and Marjorie left that same day, saying she wanted to take her mother's body back to their hometown. Noah looked at the surgical records, his mind exploding in an instant. Had he really caused the death of his mother-in-law? The world suddenly began to spin violently. Noah struggled to keep his footing. In a daze, He saw the divorce certificate beside the pillow. His mother-in-law's incident had happened suddenly, but divorce certificates don't appear out of nowhere. Why? Marjorie wanted a divorce. Marjorie successfully joined the professor's team, primarily responsible for translating project terminology and handling project coordination. But this project was closely tied to national development. In 3 days, she would enter the laboratory and wouldn't be able to leave for the next 6 months. Marjorie's mom still hasn't woken up. The doctor said the blood clot is already dissipating and asked everyone to wait a bit longer. Before entering the lab, Marjorie found Orville again. She wanted to know what Orville had meant by those words he said back then. "Do you really want to know?" Orville slowly cut the steak with graceful and pleasing movements. Even though Marjorie couldn't see his face clearly, she knew how extraordinary the person before her was. Marjorie nodded. It felt as if she had been living in a grand lie, and now it was time for her to learn the truth. The Owens family has always had a thin bloodline with few descendants. As you should know, Marjorie nodded. Precisely because of this, Noah's mom wanted to choose a daughter-in-law to her liking, but unexpectedly, she got there first. Actually, this is the Owens family's secret, which I only learned by chance. The Owens family has had oligospermia in every generation's leader, which is why they struggle with offspring, and you, Orville stared straight at her, are just a shield. Marjorie felt her scalp tingle as countless images flashed before her eyes. After a long silence, she finally managed to speak with difficulty. "So, Noah knew all along, didn't he?" Seeing the man before her nod, Marjorie's heart sank to the depths. For so many years, she endured endless criticism for not being able to conceive. Noah's mom made life difficult for her because of it. Now she's being told that it was all a lie. The fault was never hers, they were the ones who deceived her. She and Noah had known each other for a full 22 years. She trusted him unconditionally, only to be met with deception time and time again. No wonder Noah treasured the child in Marion's womb so much. It might be his only child after all. Orville, am I being foolish? Marjorie lowered her head as scalding tears fell drop by drop. If not for you, I would still be kept in the dark. A pristine white handkerchief appeared before her eyes. Orville bent down and naturally wiped away her tears. You're wonderful, always have been. It's Noah who's blind to see it. Because of Orville's actions, Marjorie froze, her cheeks flushing red before she quickly snatched the handkerchief from his hand and turned away. Orville calmly returned to his seat, saying, "It's not too late to cut your losses. When Noah married you, aside from considering your shared affection, it was mostly because you were obedient and easy to control. His secrets would remain safe. Originally, your pregnancy would have made everyone happy, but he failed. To cover up the truth, they bribed a doctor to fabricate evidence that you couldn't conceive." Orville's words were frank, but Marjorie felt as though her heart had been trampled over and over again. Marjorie was unsure whether Noah truly loved her, but compared to the Owens family, she was undoubtedly the insignificant one. However, Orville paused, his icy tone carrying a hint of mockery. "Marion's child isn't his either. Noah drank and indulged in lust. He lost his fertility long ago." Marjorie froze at these words, nearly laughing to the point of tears. "How ironic. My mother nearly died because of that child, yet in the end, Noah has always been protecting someone else's child." After speaking, they looked straight at Orville and said word by word, "Orville, I'm so unwilling." Orville was unusually taken aback for a moment, then curled his lips. "Leave it to me." A week had passed, and Noah still hadn't received any news about Marjorie. He went to almost every place she and Marjorie had been to, but found nothing. He had lost a significant amount of weight and no longer looked as spirited as before. "Noah, seeing you like this breaks my heart. Should I come back to the villa to take care of you?" Marion had been confined to the hospital since the suspected miscarriage last time. Despite repeatedly telling Noah that she was fine and wanted to return home, she was refused each time. "Marjorie must be angry because I brought you back to the villa. If you move back in, Marjorie, how will she return?" Noah continued persistently messaging Marjorie, his eyes never leaving the screen. Marion grew furious at the sight, snatched the phone and threw it to the ground. "Marjorie has already divorced you. She's gone. I'm the one carrying your child now." Noah looked up, his eyes bloodshot. Marion had never seen him like this and instinctively took a few steps back. "I've told you. Stay in the hospital and give birth to the child properly, and I won't treat you unfairly. As for anything else, don't even think about it." At that moment, the phone vibrated with a message. Noah pushed Marion away with a look of delight, picking up the phone. Marjorie's profile picture was flashing. He tapped the screen but froze the next instant. That was the intimate video of him and Marion. Marjorie knew everything. The entire internet was flooded with intimate videos of Noah and Marion. As many people who envied them at the concert now hurled insults. I genuinely wished them well, only to find out it's a scumbag and his mistress. I'm literally about to puke. I also heard that to force his wife to apologize to the mistress, he caused the death of his own mother-in-law. Public opinion quickly escalated, and netizens soon began digging into the identities of the two, but Marion's information is scarce, as if it's been erased from existence. Many enthusiastic netizens began sneaking into Marion's hospital. Although the hospital's security measures were effective and the netizens didn't succeed, Marion was still badly frightened. More netizens targeted the Owens family's companies and factories. Some business partners even chose to terminate contracts and pay penalties under the pressure. The stock prices of the Owens family's companies plummeted, and Noah's dad was so furious he vomited blood, cursing Noah as an unfilial son. But Noah didn't care. His mind was completely occupied with how to explain things to Marjorie. Marjorie, that's not me in the video, just someone who looks like me. I can bring him here to prove it. I was really just following Orville's request to take care of Marion. There's truly nothing between us. Marjorie, can you come back? I can't live without you. Message after message was sent, but they sank like stones without making a ripple. Marion threatened with her own child. Ultimately stepped through the gates of the Owens family. The Owens household was in turmoil, while Marjorie had already entered the laboratory, completely unaware of any outside news. 6 months later, the experiment achieved its first phase of success. Her mentor granted her a 2-week break to spend quality time with her family. During these 6 months, Marjorie's mom had awakened, though the head trauma required an extended period of rest, seeing her mother still asleep. Marjorie quietly tucked her in and slipped out. Just as she stepped out the gate, a familiar voice called out, "Miss Marjorie, long time no see." Orville still stood at the hospital entrance, but this time dressed in casual wear. Looking completely different from his usual composed self, the figure before her now overlapped perfectly with the shadow she'd seen on her first day here. Marjorie felt something subtly changing, then broke into a smile. "Orville, I have money now. This time I can treat you to Western food." When they actually arrived at the Western restaurant, surrounded by couples or married patrons, Marjorie became restless again, as she had chosen the date coinciding with the monthly Valentine's Day. "Noah has been looking for you." A sudden remark snapped Marjorie back to reality. Hearing that name again left her momentarily dazed. Her heart felt swollen, but the old pain was gone. "I leaked his affair with Marion to the press," dealing a heavy blow to the Owens family, remembering her mother still confined to bed. Marjorie clenched her fists. "Is he here to settle scores with me?" Orville shook his head. "Marion had a miscarriage. The 8-month-old baby didn't make it." Marjorie seemed dazed. How could this happen? Noah discovered the child wasn't his own and immediately sent Marion to the hospital for an abortion. "He wants to win you back." Marjorie could only find it laughable. When she was by his side, he never cherished her. Now that she's gone, he puts on this show of deep affection. "I won't see him again, nor will I go back. There's absolutely no possibility between us." Orville softened his expression. "Don't worry, I've erased all traces of your trip abroad. Thank you." Marjorie felt there was nothing she could do but say thank you. Orville had truly helped her too much, and the only request he made was for her to call him by his full name. Thinking of this, she raised her head to look at Orville. "What is your second request?" Orville gazed with deep, turbulent eyes, his look at Marjorie gradually filling with possessiveness. Marjorie instantly backed down, hurriedly standing up. I need to go check on my mom, so I'll be leaving now." She had barely taken a step when her wrist was caught. Orville swallowed hard before lowering his eyes. "I'll take you back." The car was enveloped in silence. Marjorie kept stealing glances at the man beside her with the corner of her eye. The man drove without looking sideways, as if oblivious to her subtle movements. As soon as they arrived, Marjorie attempted to open the car door and flee, only to realize Orville had never unlocked it. Thank you for driving me back. I'll be going now." Marjorie forced herself to speak, her eyes scanning every inch of the car but not daring to meet his gaze. Orville let out a light chuckle. "Scared? Weren't you quite bold just a moment ago?" Seeing Marjorie too afraid to speak, he sighed. "All right, let's go." The car lock clicked open. Marjorie didn't dare to linger, hastily fleeing in a panic. Pushing open the door, Marjorie's dad was massaging Marjorie's mom's body. Prolonged bed rest can cause limbs to atrophy. So every night Marjorie's dad would massage her for half an hour. Seeing Marjorie return, Marjorie's dad rarely showed a gentle expression. Marjorie is back. Are you tired from work? How many days can you stay at home? You? Listening to her father's rambling concern, Marjorie felt a deep sense of peace in her heart. Leaning on my father's shoulder like when I was a child, I'm not tired, I feel happier now. A dreamless night. Marjorie just felt she hadn't been this relaxed in a long time. The rules of her in-laws' house, the Owens family's threshold, and the fear of not being able to conceive had shackled her tightly like chains. If she hadn't loved Noah, she couldn't have lasted that long. Just as Marjorie was eating the breakfast her father had made, there was a knock at the door. Marjorie thought it was the daily milkman and simply called out from inside, telling him to leave it by the door. Little did she know, upon hearing her voice, the knocking grew even more frantic. She had no choice but to put down her breakfast and answer the door, only to find Noah standing before her in a disheveled state. In an instant, Noah was overjoyed. Marjorie, I've finally found you. A chill ran up Marjorie's spine, nearly causing her to lose her balance. Seeing Noah raise his hand to embrace her, she immediately slammed the door shut. The next second, Noah's muffled groans sounded from outside. Who is Marjorie? Marjorie's dad saw Marjorie not responding after opening the door for a while and couldn't help but ask. Before she could respond, Noah's voice rang out outside the door. Marjorie, I was wrong. I was really wrong. Please give me another chance. Marjorie's dad's expression changed instantly, and he grabbed a knife to open the door. Marjorie quickly stopped him. Dad, what are you doing? Marjorie, he betrayed you and caused your mother such suffering. Killing him wouldn't even be too much. Marjorie's dad clenched his jaw, his eyes red with rage, struggling to suppress his fury. If you really killed him, how would Mom and I survive? She still needs you. Marjorie's dad stood rooted to the spot, torn by inner conflict for a long moment, before finally heaving a deep sigh and turning back. Outside the door, Noah was still shouting, disturbing the neighbors next door, and the murmurs of the crowd grew louder. Marjorie had no choice but to open the door. Noah were already divorced. Stop bothering me. Noah shook his head firmly. It doesn't count if I didn't agree. Then he looked at Marjorie with pitiful eyes. The villa feels so empty and quiet without you. I miss you so much. Please come back with me. Marjorie let out a cold laugh. Noah, you don't actually think begging a couple times will make all those things disappear, do you? Noah turned pale and swayed unsteadily. It wasn't me who was entangled with Marion. It was just someone who looks like me. I have his photo. Look. Noah raised his phone, frantically scrolling through the album to show her the person who looked remarkably like him. Marjorie felt even more heartbroken. Noah, you're still lying to me. Do you really think I can't tell you apart from someone else? Noah froze in place, his face filled with disbelief. Although I have face blindness, we've known each other for 22 years, we've been together since we were in diapers. I know exactly what you like to eat and use. Your favorite positions, and all your subconscious habits. Every time your behavior differed from before, I just thought you were influenced by friends. I never imagined you'd find a stand-in to deceive me. Marjorie, Noah tried to speak but was interrupted by Marjorie. My mother is still lying in bed. The doctor said it's a lifelong trauma. You've always protected me since childhood. I can't bring myself to hate you, but I can't love you anymore either. Let's end it here. Please leave. Noah could offer no defense and could only watch helplessly as Marjorie closed the door. For several days in a row, Noah did not appear again, and Marjorie breathed a sigh of relief. During these days, she was always afraid that Noah might do something outrageous, so she didn't even dare to leave the house. Taking advantage of the good weather that day, Marjorie and her father pushed Marjorie's mom to take a walk in the park together. Just as she returned, she saw Noah standing outside the door again. This time, he wasn't in the disheveled state from before. Instead, he wore the white shirt she used to love most, looking just like the boy next door. Seeing Marjorie return, Noah immediately handed her the bouquet in his hand. Your favorite lilies. Marjorie's dad instantly darkened his expression. But with Marjorie's mom present, he said nothing and went straight home. Marjorie didn't accept the flowers. She wanted to pretend she hadn't seen them and walk past, but her wrist was grabbed. Marjorie, can we talk? I thought we made things clear enough last time. Marjorie pulled her hand back and took a few steps away. Seeing Marjorie avoiding him like this, Noah felt upset. It's my fault. I shouldn't have lied to you. But I did it all for our future. Marjorie remained silent, signaling him to continue. Since you already know everything, you should also be aware of my physical condition. Seeing Marjorie show no other reaction, Noah continued. My parents said as long as I have a son to ensure the Owens family has an heir, they won't interfere with our lives. After all these years, only Marion got pregnant, so I cherished her more, but I never thought of separating from you. I truly know I was wrong. Marion has been dealt with, the substitute has been dismissed. And I'll find the best doctors for your mother's treatment. Can we start over? Listening to Noah's evasive explanation, Marjorie smiled. Noah, it's impossible for us now. You should go back to your country. I won't leave. For the past 6 months, I've searched every place we've been to, contacted every classmate, and used all my connections just to finally hear about you and the teacher going abroad. The Owens family has no property here. I didn't know where you lived. So I had to knock on every door in the neighborhood near the Teachers Research Institute. I don't know how many punches and kicks I endured before finding you. How could I possibly give up? Noah tightly gripped Marjorie's hand, his expression bordering on madness. After all these years of friendship, can you really just throw it away like this? Besides, who else could tolerate your face blindness besides me? I can. A cool voice came from behind. The two turned their heads in unison. Orville approaching slowly with a bouquet of roses in his arms. Noah shielded Marjorie behind him, his gaze wary. How is Orville here? As if remembering something, his expression darkened. Were you the one who erased Marjorie's traces? Orville neither confirmed nor denied it, his cold eyes fixed on Noah. Let her go. Taking advantage of Noah's moment of daze, Marjorie immediately broke free and hid behind Orville. Mr. Noah, have you forgotten that you still have a life on your hands? Both of them were exceptionally good-looking, but standing together, Noah lost a bit of his imposing presence. Don't talk nonsense. If it weren't for me, Mr. Noah would probably be facing prison time by now, right? Noah didn't want to confront Orville and instead turned his gaze toward Marjorie. Marjorie, don't believe him. He's also a complete fraud. Marion was the one he introduced to me. Marjorie stiffened and instinctively took 2 steps back. Orville darkened his expression. But Noah visibly brightened in mood. Marion is the companion Orville brought along. There's definitely something shady between them. It was all his idea. I just couldn't resist the temptation. If it weren't for him, how could I have made such a grave mistake? Marjorie, you have to believe me. I'm definitely the one who loves you most. Marjorie felt her mind was too chaotic to think straight. I heard President Noah is bedridden. The Owens family is in complete chaos. Mr. Noah, aren't you going to clean up the mess? Do you want the family name to be replaced by someone else's? Noah gritted his teeth. My family affairs are none of your business. My old man is very interested in your family, Orville said with a calm expression, as if discussing something trivial. Seeing Marjorie's gaze not directed at him, Noah grew furious. Marjorie, wait for me. I won't give up. Noah stormed off, leaving only the two standing there. Orville handed the bouquet to Marjorie. This is a congratulation. I forgot last time. Instead of taking it, she looked into Orville's eyes and asked, Noah, is what he said true? If it's true, then why would he ruin his own marriage? The surroundings fell into instant silence. Looking at Orville's completely unruffled expression, Marjorie felt somewhat intimidated. She had forgotten that Orville was a decisive businessman on the battlefield of commerce. His recent approachability had made her lose her bearings. If I've offended you, just pretend I never asked. Orville sighed softly and put down the flowers in his hand. It's true, I planned to get close to you from the start, but I won't hurt you. Marion came to us on her own initiative. She wanted to leverage Orville's influence to find a better future for herself. Orville happened to be bored at the time, so he agreed to her request and brought her into the circle. Unexpectedly, she took a liking to Noah, which actually suited Orville's intentions even better. So he seized the opportunity to give things a push. Why me? Apart from this body and face blindness, Marjorie didn't think there was anything about herself worth Orville's scheming. Orville didn't answer, just looked up at the sky. It's getting late. It's not safe outside after dark. Watching the sunset that stretched their shadows long, Marjorie saw someone spouting nonsense without batting an eye for the first time. She walked step by step towards her doorstep. Orville stood there watching her. The moment she stepped into the house, he suddenly spoke. Marjorie, why haven't you remembered me yet? That night Marjorie slept very restlessly. She had many dreams. One moment it was Noah blocking the way with his arms to protect her. The next moment, Orville was tugging at her sleeve, asking why she still hadn't remembered him. In her daze, someone pressed a cool palm to her forehead, the icy touch bringing comfort. How did Marjorie get a fever? Did she catch a chill last night? The gentle whispers of her parents reached her ears. Marjorie felt like a small boat adrift in the sea, rising and falling with the waves. When she opened her eyes again, she found herself lying on a hospital bed with an 4 drip in her arm. To her surprise, The person by her side was Orville. As soon as she opened her eyes, Orville looked over, his gaze bright and radiant. She had always felt those eyes were familiar, especially the mole at the corner, as if she had seen them somewhere before. But she just couldn't recall. The doctor said your fever was caused by shock and emotional distress. Orville smiled with his eyes, looking completely different from usual, exceptionally gentle. Were you scared yesterday? Marjorie shook her head, and seeing him in such an approachable mood, she even felt like joking. I had many dreams last night, and in them you kept chasing after me, asking if I remembered you. She thought Orville would laugh it off, but to her surprise, he asked her seriously. So, did you remember me? Seeing Orville's faint glimmer of hope in his eyes, Marjorie suddenly found it hard to speak. I'm sorry. Orville lowered his head, just as Marjorie's dad walked in carrying a bowl of porridge. Marjorie is awake. We couldn't wake you up this morning, and you kept calling out Colin, Colin, which scared your mother and me. Colin. Dust-laden memories come flooding back. When she was 7, her family accompanied her on an outing to the countryside, where they encountered an injured boy along the way, though she couldn't clearly see his face. She firmly believed he was very good-looking and threw a tantrum, insisting on taking him home as her older brother. Marjorie's mom initially disagreed, but unable to resist her persistent pleading, they eventually brought him home. When asked the boy's name, all we knew was that he was called Colin. We originally thought that in a few days Colin's family would come to pick him up, but unexpectedly, he ended up staying for half a year. Then one day, Colin left without saying goodbye, and Marjorie cried for a long time at home, fussing and asking for her brother. Eventually, she slowly forgot about Colin. Are you Colin? Marjorie looked surprised, gazing at Orville as the memory of those eyes became clear again. Seeing Orville nod, Marjorie's dad also brightened up. So you're Colin after all. When you suddenly disappeared back then, Auntie and I worried for a long time, afraid you'd run into bad people again. Orville said with eyes so gentle it was almost unbearable. If it weren't for you back then, I might not have survived until now. Marjorie's dad no longer held his previous fear of Orville and patted his shoulder, saying, It's a relief to see you doing well. Come over for dinner tonight, your aunt misses you too. The group exchanged pleasantries, filling the hospital room with the joy of reunion. Just then, an unwelcome voice shattered the warmth of the moment. Marjorie, I came to see you. Are you okay? Noah stood at the doorway holding a fruit basket and a bouquet of flowers. The expressions of several people changed abruptly. Marjorie's dad directly pushed him away. Get out, you're not welcome here. Noah pleaded. Dad, I really know I was wrong. I'll change, give me one more chance. Who's your father? Our family has long had nothing to do with you. Seeing Marjorie's dad pushing him away persistently, Noah gritted his teeth, put down what he was holding, and fell to his knees with a thud. I'm sorry to Auntie, and I'm sorry to Marjorie. You can hit me or scold me. I just beg for a chance. Noah was thrown out by the security guards, but in the following days, he would appear unpredictably at any time. It might be in the evening or early morning. He would leave 2 large bags of daily necessities or fresh fruits at the door. He would also Marjorie's dad take over the wheelchair from Marjorie's mom during their walks and chat with her. More often than not, it was pestering Marjorie. Marjorie, I know you prefer cakes that aren't too sweet. I made this one for you with my own hands. You love these shrimp the most, don't you? I had them specially airshipped from back home. I didn't have time to take you out for them before, but I promise to change that from now on. Marjorie, I found your notebook with so many things left unfinished. I've arranged everything, just waiting for your approval. When Noah stood outside the door with flowers once again, Marjorie finally couldn't hold back anymore. Noah, I really don't love you anymore. Can you stop these futile efforts? It only makes me more annoyed. Hearing this, Noah finally had tears welling up in his eyes. He pulled out a ring box from the bouquet and slowly opened it. I've been picking this ring for a long time. I felt I shortchanged you when we got married, and I've always wanted to make it up with a proper wedding and a ring. But I kept getting held up by one thing or another. He slowly took Marjorie's right hand and placed the ring in her palm. I thought we had all the time in the world, so I kept telling myself to take it slow, but I forgot you could feel disappointed and hurt too. Tears fell one by one, landing on Marjorie's palm. It was the first time she had ever seen Noah cry. I know what I did hurt you, but I promise it will never happen again. Can you please not give up on me? Marjorie turned her face away, avoiding Noah's gaze. Noah, the truth is you don't still love me, you just can't accept me leaving. Noah's hand slowly dropped. The Owens family needs me. I can't go abroad again anytime soon. So Marjorie, even if you don't believe me, please don't turn to someone else's embrace. Okay. Meeting Noah's expectant gaze, Marjorie remained silent. She watched as those eyes slowly shifted from expectation to disappointment, then to losing all their light, before finally turning away to leave. I'll show you how I can change. From that day on, Noah never appeared again. But Marjorie occasionally came across domestic political news. Noah placed all the blame on a stand-in and issued a sincere apology to the users, even though many didn't believe it. The public controversy gradually came to an end. More people were drawn to Noah's looks, giving the Owens family a chance to recover. Still thinking about Noah, Orville interrupted Marjorie's contemplation. The man before me had a cold expression, his eyes seemingly brewing a storm. Marjorie shook her head. I just feel like he's grown up, completely different from how I remember him. Today was the last day of her vacation. Starting tomorrow, she would begin the second phase of the project, but this time it would be longer, estimated to last a year. I'll leave my parents in Colin's care. Ever since overlaying Orville with that face from memory, Marjorie hasn't been as intimidated by him. Hearing this, Orville softened his expression and nodded gently. Don't worry, I'll take good care of them. As if remembering something, he let out a light chuckle. When your current project concludes, I'll tell you my second request. You can't hide this time. A year passed by quickly. During this year, Marjorie couldn't come out, but Orville's things could be sent in. With gradual recovery, Marjorie's mom has returned to a normal state, as long as she isn't provoked. Orville, seeing that the two were idle, he simply arranged for someone to take them on a trip. Photos taken along the way were all sent to Marjorie, providing her with a relaxing break amidst the intense progress. In addition, Orville would frequently improve the team's meals, and after a year of high-intensity work, everyone had actually gained quite a bit of weight. Even when the project budget was miscalculated, Orville did not hesitate to invest. Even the teacher couldn't stop praising. This child is a good one, countless times better than Noah. Don't let go of what's right in front of you to go back to old grass. Marjorie would just shake her head each time. I don't want to think about these things right now. I just want to do well on the project at hand. But words aside. Seeing Orville, Marjorie couldn't help but feel her heart race a little as he stood before her holding flowers. She smiled and walked towards him, only to be blocked by an arm. As the gaze lifted, Noah's face came into view. It's only been a year since we last met. Has Marjorie already erased me from her eyes? Marjorie only then noticed Noah standing nearby. But he had changed so much that she didn't recognize him at first glance, now dressed in a well-tailored white suit. His hair slicked back and wearing gold-rimmed glasses, he exuded the aura of someone in authority, a stark contrast to his former rebellious and unrestrained self. I came all the way from home just to celebrate with you. Marjorie wouldn't turn me away, would you? Marjorie didn't answer, just looked at Orville. Her eyes conflicted. Orville smirked and pulled Marjorie into his own territory. Mr. Noah has come a long way. As hosts we should certainly welcome him warmly. Orville was driving. Marjorie sat in the passenger seat. Noah could only watch from the back seat as the two chatted and laughed happily. Seeing the intimate way they were talking, Noah clenched his fists. Marjorie, I brought you a lot of things from home, all your favorite foods. I'll take them to your place later. No, thank you. Marjorie distantly declined, not wanting Noah to think he had a chance because of her actions. These are all takeout from your favorite restaurant, still warm. Those are all restaurants you love, Marjorie interrupted coldly. All the restaurants were chosen according to your taste. Have you forgotten I like spicy food? Noah pursed his lips to speak again, but Orville beat him to it. Congratulations, I heard Mr. Noah is getting engaged. Noah changed his expression and immediately retorted, don't talk nonsense, I'm completely innocent, but I heard the Miles family is sending out betrothal letters. Saying the engagement banquet with the Owens family is in 3 days, inviting everyone to attend, that was arranged by my father. I never acknowledged it. Noah feared Marjorie might misunderstand and hurriedly explained, but seeing her indifferent expression, as if she didn't care about anything, a sour feeling welled up in my heart. My wife is only Marjorie. The Owens family and the Miles family are now in a cooperative relationship. If you openly break the contract, the Owens family will suffer significant losses, won't they? No need for Orville to worry. This is my family matter. Moreover, this is between me and Marjorie. I wonder what identity Orville is using to criticize me. Orville's gaze swept coldly over the rearview mirror without a word, but Marjorie slowly spoke. He's my boyfriend. Is that identity enough? As soon as the words were spoken, the carriage fell into complete silence. Orville beamed with joy, the corners of his mouth remaining lifted in a high curve. Meanwhile, Noah instantly sprang up upon hearing this, but forgot he was in a car, causing his head to slam hard against the roof. Marjorie, do you even know what you're saying? Then pointing at Orville, continued, he's just a liar, you'll get hurt if you stay with him. Marjorie smiled self-deprecatingly. Have I suffered any less being with you? Marjorie, I'll change everything. You won't change. Marjorie stared into Noah's eyes and said earnestly, you've never cared about my wishes, only your own needs. Back then you wanted to get married, so you proposed in front of everyone. The crowd cheered, so I said yes. All these years I've been the one agreeing to your demands, while you've turned a blind eye to all my requests. I'm truly exhausted. I'm genuinely grateful for how you've protected me all these years, but I've nearly repaid that debt of gratitude. Let's end it here. Noah's lips trembled but no words came out. Marjorie signaled Orville to pull over by the roadside. Next, I'm going to spend some alone time with my boyfriend, so you're not welcome anymore, as the car slowly started moving again. Watching Noah's figure gradually fade in the rearview mirror, Marjorie burst into tears. Orville handed her a white tissue, his expression grave. If you can't let go, I can take you back to him. Marjorie took the tissue and wiped her tears. Hearing this, she froze for a moment before shaking her head. It's not that I can't let go. I'm just sad that my relationship with Noah ended this way after so many years. I really did want to spend the rest of my life with him. Orville pursed his lips. He had never counseled anyone before, so he didn't know what to say at this moment. Seeing his unusually serious expression, Marjorie found it somewhat amusing. I'm fine, don't worry. And just now, I accidentally used you as a shield. I don't mind. On the contrary, I couldn't ask for more. Marjorie was momentarily stunned. The assertive tone made her feel somewhat embarrassed, and she awkwardly turned her head away. The car fell into a brief silence. Fortunately, they had already reached their destination. Marjorie's dad and Marjorie's mom were waiting at the entrance to greet them. Marjorie quietly let out a sigh of relief. She could feel Orville's emotions towards her, but she didn't dare to acknowledge them. Ever since she recognized his identity last time, it felt like some kind of shackles had been released. His behavior became increasingly obvious. If it weren't for the special circumstances just now, she wouldn't have said such misleading words. She didn't understand Orville, nor was she ready to enter a new relationship. Seeing Marjorie standing there in a daze, Orville gently tapped the top of her head, just like when they were kids. What are you spacing out for? Everyone's waiting for you. Marjorie shook her head and truly threw herself into Marjorie's mom's embrace. The table was filled with Marjorie's favorite dishes, spicy blood tofu, boiled meat slices, and more. She had always favored Sichuan cuisine, but Noah preferred Cantonese dishes. For so many years, she had catered to Noah's preferences, to the point where she could no longer distinguish her own tastes. Orville was well liked by Marjorie's dad and Marjorie's mom, yet when she first met him, he seemed so noble and aloof that she didn't dare approach him. Now, however, it was as if he had shed his halo, becoming approachable and down-to-earth. Marjorie was still lost in thought when Orville leaned in and whispered in her ear, "Lend me the evening. I have something to give you." When the two found themselves sharing the car space again, Marjorie began to regret it. How could she have so carelessly agreed to Orville's request? The car had been driving for 2 hours, and they still hadn't reached their destination. Just as she thought she was about to be trafficked, the car slowly came to a stop. "We're here, get out." Marjorie looked out the car window and saw a whole field of blooming roses, exceptionally pure under the moonlight. "What is this?" Orville pushed open the gate. "This is the estate I specifically purchased, solely for growing flowers." Every railing in the estate was draped with roses, and walking through it felt like stepping into a hidden paradise. Further ahead, vast fields of tulips and tuberoses swayed gently under the moonlight. "So beautiful," Marjorie murmured. "I've always dreamed of having my own garden since I was little." As a child, she loved flowers and often transplanted them from the roadside or fields into her little pots at home. Day by day, she watched them grow. Later, she met Orville and wanted to experience being a little sister, so she clung to Orville all day long, forgetting about the flowers. By the time she remembered, the neighborhood brats had already trampled them to pieces. She was furious but couldn't remember faces, so the mischievous kids weren't scared at all. It wasn't until Noah beat them up that they finally stopped. Thankfully Noah beat them up badly back then. Otherwise I really couldn't have swallowed my anger. Hearing this, Orville heaved a heavy sigh. "You really can't recognize faces. It was actually me who beat them up. But you got the wrong person." Marjorie's smile froze on her face as she looked at Orville in disbelief. "What, you beat them up?" I only wore his clothes to frame him at the time, never expecting you to be so utterly foolish, Marjorie said somewhat sheepishly. Then why didn't you tell me? I didn't get the chance. My parents sent someone to fetch me. And I didn't even have time to say goodbye to any of you. With that, she gestured to the entire sea of flowers. I've been planting these over the years, just so I could one day give them to you with my own hands. Now you don't have to worry about your flowers being picked by others, even if they're stolen. I can help you plant them again. Marjorie felt her eyes gradually moisten as she watched the scene before her. So this is what it feels like to be cherished. All these years I've been watching over you, seeing you date and then marry Noah. As long as you were happy, I wouldn't have disturbed you. But Noah betrayed you. This was the first time Marjorie had seen Orville experience such intense emotional fluctuations. Marjorie, give me a chance to stay by your side. Okay. Marjorie avoided it again. She buried her head under the blanket, with Orville's voice constantly ringing in her ears, making it impossible for her to fall asleep. This is my second request. You don't have to answer me right away. I'll always wait for you. Tossing and turning all night, Marjorie finally decided to go for a run in the park to calm her emotions. After 2 laps, she suddenly received Noah's message. Marjorie, I've thought it through. I won't bother you anymore. I'm about to return to my home country. Can I see you one last time? I want to say a proper goodbye. I'll be waiting here for you all day today. Noah sent the location of a church not far from her. She also wanted to properly mark the end of this relationship, so she went to the meeting. It's not yet time for prayer, and the church is empty. She wanted to retreat, but someone covered her mouth and nose, and in an instant, darkness fell as she lost consciousness. When she woke again, what she saw was the scenery rapidly receding outside the window. Marjorie had her hands and feet tied, and her mouth stuffed with a large wad of cotton, rendering her unable to speak. Only muffled whimpers escaped. The person in the driver's seat quickly turned around upon hearing the noise. Marjorie, you're awake. Are you feeling unwell anywhere? Noah was still wearing the same suit from yesterday, now wrinkled and clinging to his body. His eyes were bloodshot, the corners of his mouth perpetually upturned, appearing somewhat overly excited. Marjorie's pupils contracted sharply, then she began pounding on the driver's seat with force, even attempting to open the car door. Noah, seeing her so unruly, abruptly braked and then accelerated. Marjorie rolled straight under the seat. Marjorie, hold on a little longer, we'll be there soon. Marjorie was jolted dizzy, her stomach churning. After what felt like an eternity, the car finally slowed down, turned left and right a few more times, and came to a stop. Noah anxiously opened the car door and carried Marjorie out of the vehicle. Marjorie, are you okay? Did you bump into anything? Marjorie couldn't speak, only making angry noises. I actually forgot. Marjorie still has something stuffed in her mouth. After saying this, the cotton wad was removed. Marjorie involuntarily retched twice, but it made Noah frown. He then carried her over his shoulder into the building. The buildings here seemed abandoned, surrounded by endless grasslands, with only a few scattered structures standing in the area. Marjorie struggled to memorize the building's markings. This place was entirely unfamiliar to her. She had no idea which city Noah had brought her to. The room had clearly been tidied up, but there was only a bed, with no other living supplies. Noah carefully placed Marjorie on the bed, bound her with chains, and forcefully stuffed cotton into her mouth. I'm going to fetch supplies. Marjorie, stay here quietly. Don't make a sound or think about escaping. The Noah before her had a fierce gaze, completely devoid of any gentlemanly demeanor. Noah left, and the room fell into silence. Not just the room, but the surroundings were utterly quiet, as if this were a forgotten world. Her limbs felt weak and powerless. Without a key, she couldn't break free from the chains. Outside, the sun had already begun to set, meaning she had been missing for at least 8 hours. She wondered if her parents were frantic with worry. As night slowly descended, Noah returned, carrying supplies in his left hand and, surprisingly, leading a person with his right. He casually tied the person up as far away from Marjorie as possible, then began organizing the supplies. Suddenly, the person started moaning, Noah, either kill me or let me go. I'm in so much pain. It was Marianne's voice. Marjorie looked at Noah in horror, unable to believe how he had become like this. Marjorie, don't be afraid, I won't hurt you. As she spoke, she removed the cotton stuffing from the woman's mouth. The moaning woman suddenly broke down emotionally upon hearing this name. Marjorie, I was wrong. I shouldn't have seduced Noah, shouldn't have ruined your family. I truly know I was wrong. Please spare me. After writhing on the ground for a moment, she began to curse wildly. Marjorie, it's all because of you that I've ended up like this. May you die a horrible death. Noah is a madman, just a complete madman. Marjorie's heart was pounding violently. The Noah before her was no longer the person she remembered. Noah, what exactly do you want with me after tying me up like this? Noah gently caressed Marjorie's cheek, his gaze filled with obsession. Of course, I want to start over with you. Without you, the villa feels so empty, unbearably quiet. No one cares about my health anymore. No one leaves a light on waiting for me to return. And every night I can only embrace the cold air in my sleep. Suddenly Noah's gaze turned fierce, his fingers pressing harder, and soon Marjorie's face bore several red marks. Why won't you come back? Why do you reject me? I've told you I'll change. Why don't you believe me? Then he tightly embraced Marjorie, his voice trembling slightly. Don't leave me. Okay, I really love you so much. What about Marion? Marjorie said calmly. Everything I do, she can do too. Noah's smile grew wider upon hearing this. Marjorie, are you jealous? Don't worry, Marion can never take your place. He lifted Marion and threw her before Marjorie, who finally saw Marion's current appearance, emaciated, with protruding ribs and a face crisscrossed with scabbed knife scars, now curled into a ball, muttering in pain. It's all because of her that we've come to this. She actually deceived me with someone else's child, making me lose Marjorie. She truly deserves to die. She must repent, so I made her swallow many fine needles. Every breath she takes will bring stabbing pain. Marjorie knew Noah had a somewhat obsessive personality, but she had never seen him this hysterical before. I've brought her here. You can torment her however you like, as long as you agree to start over with me. Marjorie knew that no matter what she said now, Noah wouldn't listen. She turned around and lay down, beginning to think of a plan, but the next moment, Noah lay down beside her. His arms tightly encircling Marjorie's waist, his face buried in her neck, inhaling deeply with an intoxicated expression. Several days passed like this. Noah would leave the house at regular intervals each day, only returning at dusk with purchased items. Marion barely ate or drank because the needles inside her body kept moving incessantly. Noah even bought home appliances, as if he genuinely wanted to live here with her. Marjorie, you used to take care of me. Now it's my turn to take care of you. During these days of living together, Noah made no further moves, merely feeding her daily, helping her bathe and change clothes. Occasionally, he would mix some medication into her food to weaken her limbs, then carry her out for a walk. After living like this for half a month, Noah started returning home later and later, sometimes even circling the area several times before coming back. Marjorie knew Orville must be looking for her. Marion's condition was deteriorating rapidly, lying on the ground barely alive, so Noah no longer restrained her. That day, she mustered her last remaining strength to stand up, went to the kitchen to find a fruit knife, and staggered towards Marjorie. Marjorie, tied to the bed with no retreat, could only watch helplessly as Marion approached. Sometimes I truly envy you, having loving parents and an outstanding husband. Marion pressed the fruit knife against Marjorie's neck, slowly revealing her inner thoughts. I had no parents. I was an orphan since childhood, constantly drifting among men. I just wanted to find someone to rely on to make my life easier. Was that so wrong? I don't regret pushing you away. I only regret not seeing clearly the true nature of Noah. After you left, he went mad. Every day has been agony for me, and it's all because of you. Marion gradually tightened her grip, the knife tip drawing a trail of blood on Marjorie's neck. I no longer desire wealth and glory. All I want now is for Noah to suffer. Only your death will bring him pain. So, Marion raised the fruit knife high, poised to plunge it down with force when the door was kicked open. Noah's panicked voice rang out, Marjorie. Marion was kicked flying, crashing heavily against the wall and spitting out several mouthfuls of blood before collapsing limply to the ground. Noah frantically used gauze to stop Marjorie's bleeding, then carried her out the door. As they stepped outside, Marjorie couldn't resist glancing back at Marion. She was staring fixedly out the window, a smile on her lips, her entire body radiating an aura of liberation. Noah hurriedly took Marjorie away, completely disregarding Marion's fate, only to be surrounded by police cars before they could get far. Marjorie saw that familiar figure, his cheeks gaunt and his beard unkempt like a wild man, with none of his former refined appearance left. The police pinned Noah to the ground, while Marjorie was pulled tightly into Orville's embrace. Marjorie, I've finally found you. Meanwhile, Noah continued to struggle violently. No, don't take my Marjorie. Noah was deported back to his home country. After more than half a month, Marjorie finally saw her parents again. The two held her in their arms, tears streaming down their faces. It's good to have you back. Marjorie underwent thorough full-body examinations over the past few days. Apart from the wound on her neck and her low spirits, no other issues were found. Only then did they truly feel relieved. Since the incident, her parents and Orville have been taking turns staying with her, never leaving her alone again. Despite Marjorie's repeated assurances that such a situation would never happen again, they remained unconvinced. Every time she went out, she could only call Orville. "Marian's body has been sent back by my people." The doctor found at least 3 thin needles in her body, and Noah was arrested for intentional homicide. Marjorie was very puzzled. Owen's family only has him as a son. Didn't his parents help? Orville shook his head. His mother wanted to bail him out, but his father, fearing it would implicate the company, directly locked him up. "As far as I know, he's out looking for women, trying to have another son." Marjorie lowered her gaze, never imagining that Noah would come to this point. Feeling a pang of sorrow in her heart, however, during Noah's assessment, it was found that he was mentally unstable and likely to be sent to a psychiatric hospital for treatment. "If the treatment goes well, you can visit him when you return to the country." Marjorie shook her head. "We'll see. The timing of my return isn't certain yet." "Well then," Orville paused mid-sentence, causing Marjorie to look at him curiously. He cleared his throat before speaking slowly. "What's your answer?" Marjorie took a few seconds to process what he was referring to, then blinked. "Would refusing count as violating our agreement?" "It doesn't count." Orville gently looked at her, his eyes twinkling like scattered stars. "I set those conditions initially because I was afraid you'd feel pressured and wouldn't trust me. If I get rejected, it just means I'm not good enough yet, and I'll keep improving." A subtle breeze brushed past their cheeks. Marjorie could clearly hear the sound of her own heartbeat. "I can't give you an answer right now." Soft words were carried by the breeze into Orville's ears, and he lowered his head despondently. "But I can on the day I return to my country." Walking side by side in unspoken understanding, the seed named palpitation took root and sprouted incessantly. "How much longer until your project is finished?" The teacher said that once the next phase is completed, we can basically start trial operations, and the remaining technical issues can be guided remotely. Any specific timeline? "About 2 to 3 years. Orville was somewhat speechless. "That's such a long time without seeing you." "I'll miss you." Reserved people can say sweet nothings without blushing or skipping a beat. Marjorie was caught completely off guard. Perfect timing. "Submit your family's documents, and I'll review them. Right now, I know nothing about your family background. Wouldn't it be more straightforward to visit my home and see for yourself?" In less than 2 years, Marjorie had successfully completed the project she was responsible for. Everyone was already discussing the arrangements for returning home. "The food here is too limited, and the home-cooked meals fall short compared to those back home." They couldn't wait to return and feast for 3 days and nights straight. Marjorie's dad and Marjorie's mom were all smiles every day at the thought of going home. Only Marjorie still felt a bit reluctant. "Why so gloomy? Weren't you always looking forward to returning home?" Orville has been gradually shifting his overseas businesses back to the homeland over these 2 years, all just to return with Marjorie. "But I can't take the estate you gave me with me. I loved those flowers so much." That was Orville planting flowers for her bit by bit. "It's okay, we can travel here often, or recreate the same back home. As long as you like them, I'm willing to keep planting forever." After 3 years, stepping onto the homeland soil again, even the air smelled exceptionally sweet. "Marjorie, I'll be waiting for you at school. You must come." When the teacher parted ways, he still held Marjorie's hand reluctantly, asking her to promise his request. Staying at the school to become a faculty member was something the teacher had always hoped for. At that time, Marjorie had refused due to marriage. Now with projects in hand, she could quickly become a professor in a few years. And the teacher didn't want her to miss this opportunity. "Got it. I'll be right over after I pack up." After seeing the teacher and the others off, Orville quietly wrapped his arm around Marjorie's shoulder. "Marjorie, now that you're back in the country, can you give me a chance to take care of you?" Marjorie didn't play hard to get this time and nodded directly. 3-month probation period. You can get promoted early if you perform well. Orville froze in place. Is the vetting process this strict? Exactly. Who knows if you've hidden a double at home? She didn't want to either, but with Noah in the picture, she couldn't help wondering if Orville might also be deceiving her. Orville felt a pang of heartache and pulled her into a tight embrace. "You can take your time vetting me. I said I'd wait." Marjorie used her project bonus to buy an apartment, finally securing a place to call her own in this city. Noah's dad, Noah's mom kept talking about going back after just a few days. If not for wanting to see their daughter, they wouldn't have come all this way. Seeing that persuasion was futile, Marjorie had no choice but to ask Orville to arrange for someone to take them back. She had now officially started teaching at the school. And her days were quite comfortable. If Noah's mom hadn't come over to make trouble, Noah's mom started nitpicking the moment she stepped into the room was too small, the layout too messy. Her entire demeanor reeked of disdain. After leaving Noah, "Look at the life you're living, Miss Marjorie. If you came here just to find fault with my house, then you may see yourself out." Noah's mom, her expression changed slightly, realizing the person before her was no longer the timid Marjorie of old, and could only soften her tone. "Noah isn't doing well at the sanatorium. You should talk to Orville and ask him to let Noah come back. I'll take care of him from now on." Marjorie found it amusing that Noah's mom still maintained such a condescending attitude even when asking for a favor. "Miss Marjorie, your son's mental instability makes the sanatorium a safer place for him. Besides, I have no authority to make decisions for Orville. Didn't you get close to him? How could you fail at such a simple task?" Noah's mom felt that Marjorie was making excuses. "After all, Noah still thinks about you all the time." Marjorie recalled that the first call she received after returning home was from Noah. He was emotionally stable. As if nothing had ever happened abroad. "Marjorie, welcome back. I've missed you." "Yes." Orville hung up the phone out of jealousy. Marjorie rubbed her temples, not wanting to argue with Noah's mom any longer. She then instructed the bodyguard left by Orville, "Escort Miss Marjorie out. I'm tired and need to rest." After years of living in comfort, Miss Marjorie was completely defenseless, dragged along by the bodyguards, her hair disheveled. She looked nothing like a noble woman. Furious, she cursed outright, "How dare you treat me like this? Don't forget this is still the Owens family's territory. I have 100 ways to make you leave. Go ahead." A muffled voice came from behind the door. "I can make sure Noah never gets out. By the way, I heard you've also adopted a child and are preparing to groom them as the new heir. If their abilities fall short, I could also mention a thing or two to Orville. The Edwards family would likely be quite willing to manage the Owens family's assets." There was no response from outside the door. Marjorie assumed Noah's mom had already left and buried herself in the soft blankets. When she woke up, it was already dark outside. Orville was at his computer handling work matters, the room illuminated only by the faint glow of the screen. Marjorie loved seeing him like this, completely focused, and couldn't take her eyes off him. It was Orville who couldn't hold back first. "Marjorie, don't look at me like that. I won't be able to resist." Marjorie blushed furiously upon realizing, shooting him a reproachful glance. Orville stood up and pulled Marjorie into his arms. "When are you coming back with me to see Grandpa? If we don't go soon, he'll come looking for us." Before returning home, Grandpa wanted to meet his grandson's wife, but Marjorie wasn't ready yet, so Orville kept making excuses to refuse. Now that the two have confirmed their relationship, Grandpa is eager to settle the marriage. "Will your grandfather look down on me because of my background?" Marjorie kept declining, mainly because she feared a repeat of Noah's mom's situation. She has her own dignity and doesn't want to be humiliated repeatedly. "No, Grandpa has known for a long time. He only cares about whether I like it or not." Orville reached out and stroked Marjorie's head soothingly. "What about your parents? They'll both like you. Besides, the Edwards family is under my leadership now. My decision is their decision." After a long silence, Marjorie's voice finally came through. "Then go. You'll have to face it eventually." Just as the two were deeply immersed in their affection, the sanatorium called. "President Orville, Noah has slit his wrists and taken his own life." The two immediately rushed to the sanatorium at full speed. At this moment Noah lay weakly on the bed, his wrist wrapped in thick bandages. At the first sight of Marjorie, his eyes lit up. "Marjorie, you've finally come. Why didn't you reply to any of the many messages I sent you?" The hospital room was crowded with people, doctors, nurses, and other patients, all watching Noah's condition closely, but he turned a deaf ear, his eyes fixed intently on Marjorie. "Everyone out. I need to talk to him alone." Everyone exchanged glances but didn't move, unsure whether Noah might lose control again. In the end, it was Orville who sighed softly and asked everyone to leave the hospital room. "Marjorie, call me if you need anything. I'll be right outside." The door slowly closed, leaving only the two of them in the room, and a sudden silence fell. "Marjorie, I knew you still cared about me." Noah was overjoyed, even struggling to get up and walk toward Marjorie. "Noah, I actually wish you were dead," Marjorie said coldly, as if stating the most ordinary thing. Noah froze in disbelief, staring at her. "You trapped me for 22 years. I finally broke free, and now you want to trap my future life too?" The room was silent except for the sound of breathing. After a long standoff, Noah finally gave in. Do I really not have any chance left? Noah desperately hoped to hear a different answer from her. No, I understand, you can go now. Noah lay back on the hospital bed as if all his strength had been drained. Marjorie turned to leave without hesitation. But just as her hand touched the doorknob, Noah's voice spoke up again. The one who's always protected you since childhood, it was never me. I'm just a shameful imposter, that's all. Wishing you happiness in the end. The door was pulled open, and the crowd rushed in. Orville looked anxiously at Marjorie. Are you okay? Marjorie shook her head, the words Noah had spoken echoing incessantly in her mind. Orville, was it you who's been protecting me since childhood? The man didn't speak, just took her hand and intertwined their fingers as they walked slowly outward. The lights stretched their shadows long. Yet at this moment Marjorie felt completely at peace. The outcome didn't matter anymore. What mattered was that now Orville was by her side, and Orville's family meeting went very smoothly. Even though Orville's parents had some reservations about her being remarried, they still gave her a meeting gift under their son's strong stance. At that time, Orville's grandfather took a great liking to her, gifting her everything from jade bracelets to jewelry, properties, and land. Back when Orville was injured during the kidnapping, it was you who saved him. I wanted to repay the favor, but your parents refused. In those years, Orville was constantly worried about you getting hurt, often shuttling between two places. He missed you dearly but feared his presence might bring trouble. Thankfully, you two eventually ended up together. Marjorie returned home with a pile of gifts, her face brimming with joy. She couldn't resist touching each one lovingly. Orville couldn't help but chuckle at her doting behavior. Do you cherish them that much? Then why did you toss aside the one I gave you? He bought many jewelry and handbags that girls like, but he had never seen her so happy. You wouldn't understand, Marjorie said after carefully putting away the gifts. I'm happy because I felt loved. Then she abruptly changed the subject. Why didn't you tell me it was you who protected me since childhood? What difference does it make? I just want you to be safe. Of course there is. Marjorie pouted angrily at Orville. If I didn't believe Noah had been protecting me all these years, would I have married him? Holding Marjorie, his arms stiffened. Is that why you married him? Back then, he had gone abroad for college, so he wasn't aware of how the two of them got together, even though it was heartbreaking at the time. I didn't disturb you and chose to silently stand by. Orville was so regretful that he immediately got up and walked out. What are you doing? Going to Noah to give him a beating? He made us miss out on so many years. Finally, under Marjorie's sweet persuasion, Orville finally gave up the idea. The two gathered their parents together to start discussing wedding plans. Marjorie felt that since this was her second marriage, she didn't want to be extravagant, but Orville disagreed. Back when you and Noah had such a hasty wedding, it really upset me. This time, leave it to me. I want everyone to know you're the best. Finally, with a grand gesture, the two families agreed to set the wedding date for the 6th day of the next month. The 6th day was also the anniversary of their first meeting. After finalizing the wedding date, Marjorie's life became increasingly busy, customizing the wedding dress and taking pre-wedding photos, the decoration style of the new house, the preferred wedding scenes, and so on. Everything was Marjorie's favorite before proceeding. Even Marjorie's mom said Orville treasured her like the apple of his eye. The wedding was grand, with everyone connected to the Edwards family coming to congratulate them. All the media covered this unprecedented luxurious wedding. The bride is so beautiful. She and the groom are a perfect match. Why does she look so familiar to me? That's the ex-wife of that scumbag Noah. Who knows what his taste was? Dumping such a beautiful wife for a mistress. I heard that scumbag is sick and in a mental hospital now. The online discussion is exceptionally lively, with a small minority expressing jealousy, thinking it's embarrassing for a remarried woman to make such a grand fuss, while the majority are sending their blessings for the couple to enjoy a harmonious and lifelong marriage. So tired. Getting married is so troublesome. Next time, I won't make it this grand. Marjorie lay sprawled on the bed in her wedding dress, not wanting to move a muscle. Orville paused while loosening his tie. Next time, hee. I was just kidding with you, Marjorie said with a sly look. With a sudden carp leap, Marjorie began changing her clothes. Orville slowly approached, step by step pushing Marjorie towards the floor-to-ceiling window, trapping her in his arms unable to move. Their breaths continuously mingled, their body temperatures steadily rising. Marjorie, her heart pounded like a drum, her eyes darting uncontrollably. Orville, just as his lips were about to touch hers, Marjorie pushed him away abruptly. There's someone downstairs. Orville narrowed his eyes and glanced displeased out the window. There Noah stood downstairs, still wearing the hospital gown from the sanatorium, his unblinking gaze fixed intently in this direction. Let him stand if he wants to, a night of spring is worth 1,000 pieces of gold, how could I possibly waste it? With those words, he sealed her lips, and the temperature in the room began to rise steadily. Outside the window, fierce winds howled as lightning split the sky and thunder roared. Soon, raindrops began to fall, their gentle patter harmonizing with the sounds from within the room. Raindrops pelted down on Noah, yet he remained oblivious. His back straight and stubborn as he stared at the faint glow from the upstairs window. Suddenly, the lights went out. Noah's gaze was also extinguished. After dawn, Marjorie felt as if her whole body was about to fall apart. The man beside her was as unrestrained as a beast. Good girl, sleep a bit longer if you're tired. We'll go back to Grandpa's for lunch at noon. Marjorie wanted to nap, but tidying up would take time. Afraid of being late, she forced herself to get up. The rain had stopped, and the air was very cool. Marjorie drew back all the curtains and immediately spotted the wooden box in the middle of the yard, with an umbrella still propped over it. Suddenly remembering that Noah had come last night, she went downstairs to check the situation. Orville opened the wooden box, inside which lay the Owens family's share transfer document. Noah transferred all his shares to Marjorie. Consider it my wedding gift. Please don't refuse. Noah disappeared, and no one knows where he went. Returning from the Edwards residence, Marjorie still felt somewhat unreal. She took Orville's hand and pinched herself. Orville, why do you love me? I'm not sure either. Orville gently cupped Marjorie's face, his eyes smiling. When I first saw you, I thought you were so petite that I should protect you. After that, my gaze could never leave you. I hope to shelter you under my wings for a lifetime. Full text completed.